All right, I've got a new class over here called Math Exam Review, and I feel like we've done something like this before. We're going back to just a text-based application. So for a few weeks now, you've been working on a graphical application, but here we're going back to just a plain old text-based or command line interface. So don't forget about this scanner class that we're importing. That allows for the user to input data through the keyboard. And I just have one main method inside a class called Math Exam Review. And I have a little quiz here. So my first question is, what is the degree of a quadratic function? And hopefully you know from math class that the answer is 2. Okay, and I've got 2 more questions here below. But if I wanted to make a little quiz, I could make a variable here. So this is their choice. And I can assign that to scan.nextLine. So that will pause the program and it will let the user enter their choice. Oh, I should probably add something here like A, 0, B. Okay, so then they're going to enter the letter of their choice. Oh, the last thing, I'm going to delete this here. Sorry, that's the actual answer. So I'm realizing I have the answers printed here. So obviously I don't want to print the answers. But what I want to do is ask them, or I want to ask if their choice dot equals, in this case, C. Okay, so if that's equal to true, so remember to compare strings, to see if this equals C, you have to use the dot equals method when you're comparing strings. So if that equals true, then that means they were correct. Okay, and I can say something like correct. And otherwise, so if they entered anything different, we could print a little message saying, sorry, the answer was C. Okay, and you could do that for the other questions as well, and you could even add little score variables. So if they get something correct, you could add 1 to a score and then print their score at the very end. So we've done something like this before, and you could go on and add 10, 20, 30 questions, however many questions you want. But there's something I want to show you. There's something else you can do, and you can actually generate a quiz like this by using a text file. So over here I have just a simple text file. This is not a computer program. It's simply just a text file that I created using Notepad. Now Windows uses Notepad. It's a very popular application for making just text files. On a MacBook, I think it's called TextEdit. I don't know if that's installed on your Mac. You can do a little search for that. So basically, I have this text document saved in the same folder as my project. Okay, so remember, when you make a new BlueJ project, it creates a folder, and I have this text file saved inside that same folder. So what I want to do is, rather than typing all of my questions here, okay, instead of typing all of my questions in code, I want to import or input all of my questions from this external file. Now, the benefits of doing that is, you might have someone who works at your organization who maybe they don't know how to code, but they are generating test questions on just a regular text file. And so what you, the programmer, can do is just read each of these lines into your computer program and then print them. Okay, so in this course, we have written many programs where the user enters data from the keyboard, but now we're going to see how to write a program where the input is coming from a file, from a file of data here. Okay, so I'm going to close this one, and I already have something set up here. So I have another class called text file input. Okay. And so there's a lot of new stuff here, and some of this is overwhelming, but you can just type this as it appears here when it's your turn to practice this. So we do need an import statement in order for us to access external files, like a text file. So we're going to import java.io. IO stands for input output. And again, my class is just called text file input. and I have a main method. And now we have this try catch statement. So if you have written a program where you've imported graphics or sounds, then you know that you need to use this try statement here. So we need to use the same thing when we are reading in files or loading up files into our program. So here you can see I'm creating a file variable, and I am assigning it a new file with questions.txt. So that's actually the name of my text file here. It's called questions. And then we have to add the .txt extension to it. Then we're going to set up something called a file reader. So this is a stream that connects to the text file. So this just allows us to access the file. And then we're going to add something called a buffered reader. Okay, you don't really need to know what this means right now, but this is how we connect the file reader to the buffered reader. Okay, a lot of stuff, a lot of maybe confusing stuff, but you really just need to have these 3 lines of code each time you want to read data from a file. Okay, then I have a variable, and I just called it line, but I could have called it anything. Really could have called it anything I wanted to. And I'm going to assign this. Okay, so instead of saying scan.nextLine, like instead of reading data from the keyboard, I'm going to read data from the text file. And I've called this buffered reader. So what this will do is it will open, and you won't see this happen. It does it behind the scenes. It's going to open this file, and it's going to go and grab the first line, and it's going to read that into my program and store it into line. So if I print it, if I print line, okay, if I print my variable line, I should see the first line of my text file appear in my program. Okay, so I'm going to compile it. Let's see if it works. Okay, and there it is. That is the first line of my text file. Okay, so what if you wanted to read in everything? Okay, well, you have to get a little creative here. I mean, you could just, to read in the next line, you could do this again. Line is assigned buffered reader dot read line. Okay, so that reads the next line. And then I could print that. But I'm going to have to do this over and over and over again to read in all the lines. So what I can do is use a loop here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a while loop. And I'm going to say while line is not equal to null. Okay, and what null means is that this string variable, sorry, just fixing my indenting here. Null means if this variable doesn't have any data in it, it hasn't been assigned to any string. And what this means is if we've reached the end of the text file, then we're going to stop our loop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is 2 things here. I'm going to print my line from up here, and then I'm going to read the next line from the text file. So once again, I'm going to say line is assigned buffered reader dot read line. Okay, and you don't want to, this is a common mistake, you don't want to say string line because we've already declared this as a string. The only time you put the data type is the first time you introduce this variable in your program. So now I don't put that because I'm just reassigning this variable to this. Okay, so if I run this, what it's going to do is it's going to read the very first line, and then we're going to check to see, okay, is that variable null? Well, no, it's not. There's a string that I've stored in here. So that means this loop should run because this is this statement is true. So I'm going to run my loop, and then I'm going to print that line, and then I'm going to get my next line from the buffered reader. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to compile and run it. Okay, and here you can see the terminal window open, and you can see that every line of my text file has been read into my program and then printed. Okay, so what I want you to do is to try and create a text file of your own, so your own math questions, maybe have at least 5 questions instead of just 3. And then I want you to create a Java program that will read that data into your program, just like this. And then I want you to go further. And in here, I want you to actually ask the user to enter their choice. So you're actually going to set up a quiz and show them their score at the end of the quiz. Okay, so give that a shot and reach out if you need some help.